I've clicked onto the Global Tropical Review for October the 11th, 2023. As is always the case in these videos, let that express your mind alone, and when making decisions ahead of any tropical cyclones, look toward your local weather office, local emergency management, and local tropical cyclone warning center. So we've got one system left really to talk about today. Hurricane Lydia has already dissipated. That system has been interacting with the high topography of Mexico, and it dissipated earlier this morning local time. Now, the system did intensify to a Category 4 hurricane. I should mention it really ramped up right towards landfall, and I believe it's one of the strongest landfalls on record in Mexico. I think it's the strongest since 2015. So I hope everyone there is safe, and I hope everyone in the southeastern United States is going to be dealing with all the heavy rainfall from that and former Invest 93L stays safe as that heavy rainfall comes down. But we're left with one system in the Pacific, and that is Super Typhoon Bolaven, and you can see it here. You can't miss it on this map. It is just truly an incredible tropical cyclone. It's just been, I'm sure you all have seen on Twitter, the big topic of the day, and rightfully so. This is a powerful super typhoon, I think one of the strongest we've had in the past couple of years. The estimated maximum winds from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center is about 180 miles per hour. It's about 155 knots. Though arguably it could be lower than that. It could be as high, or sorry, higher than that, and it could be as high as say 190 miles per hour, or that's 165 knots. A very, very powerful rating, and that not many storms ever get to. This storm is in that upper echelon degree of intensity, and there aren't many signs that this system will really weaken to a great degree over the coming days. Now, if we look at the close-up in for a loop, you can see the very symmetric CDO. We talked about yesterday how the CDO was becoming more symmetric. That's one of the key things to look for in intensifying tropical cyclones is how symmetric is the CDO. And you can see over the day, I'll just let it run here and move my mouse so you can just see it fully. The eye, it's been very clear. It's been very circular. Has not really been wobbling about, has not really been too ragged, and the CDO has been generally very symmetric as well, not wobbling around, not having any big gaps in it. And the environment surrounding it is really only going to get a little bit more favorable. We're starting to get to that jet interaction we talked about yesterday, and its peak is going to be within the next, I'd say, 6 to 12 hours. That's going to be the peak of the jet interaction. Now, exactly how strong is Bolaven during that peak of the jet interaction? It's hard to say. This could easily be its peak right now, and it could undergo an eye wall replacement cycle in the next 12 or so hours that could cause it to weaken, even with the jet interaction. Now, as of now, it does not look like we have an eye wall replacement cycle going through. We don't really see too many signs on satellite of that happening. Normally what you would look for is maybe the CDO expanding. It's not really doing that. The eye is still very stable. Not really seeing too many signs on satellite, and we had some signs earlier today on microwave. This was an AMSR2 microwave pass earlier this morning local time, and you can see we had this band of thunderstorms that was pretty close to closing off around this inner core. Like I talked about yesterday, what happens in these cycles is you'll have an outer ring of thunderstorms develop that will over time weaken the inner core. The strongest ones will translate to this outer core, then that will contract, and over about a day and a half to a day, that will become its new eye wall. The new eye will be formed, and then if the conditions are still favorable, it will intensify. But the system does become more broad from these eye wall replacement cycles, and it looked like from this past we were pretty close to getting one to take shape. However, a few hours later, we got another microwave pass, and you can see here's the similar look of the eye, the very small core with the very intense thunderstorms around it. But we don't have nearly as well defined of a ring of thunderstorms surrounding this inner core. You can see we have some bands surrounding it, but they're not anywhere close to being a closed ring around this. And if we go to the low levels on this microwave pass, you can see the very strong core here. It's a little bit, a very small pen, but I guess it works. You can not see the eye because the eye is very small and this microwave passive resolution is not good enough to depict it, but that little blob there, that's the eye. I mean, we really don't have any red streaks surrounding it, unlike, say here around in these larger outer bands. So right now, it doesn't seem like we're going to have an eye wall replacement cycle. And Right now, as I said, the conditions are really not too unfavorable. So if I had to throw out a guess of what's going to happen, the system is probably just going to maintain or slowly weaken from here on out. Now, as I said, the jet interaction is going to be peaking in the next 6 to 12 hours. You can see on the model here from the GFS by tomorrow morning, I guess it's tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, UTC time, we have the jet streak taking full effect. And that will probably allow it to maintain intensity for the most part. Of course, at these high intensities, it can fluctuate a little bit, but in general, we're looking at that range of, say, 155 to 165 knots of the initial intensity. Now, in terms of steering, the system is, the pattern is generally evolving how we talked about. You can see this ridge here east of the storm. This is now pulling the system north alongside this trough over Japan. And these two features are working together to recurve the system. And the general expectation is that the system will go in between some of these islands ahead of it. You'll see the islands closer when I go to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast cone. But the system is forecast to come north, and you can see after the jet interaction, it starts to transition into a more of a non-tropical cyclone. And by, say, this weekend or early next week, the system should be fully transitioned into a non-tropical cyclone as it heads further up towards Alaska. Now, I have this big map because you can see this system will not be done. We will not be done talking about Bolaven in terms of it generally being a cyclone. I'm not really going to be talking about it too much as I focus on tropical cyclones, but you can see it deepening quite a bit here south of Alaska. And I'm bringing this up because this can have implications on the pattern ahead of it across North America. And this could have some implications on some things in the Atlantic. Right now we have only Tropical Storm Sean active, but we also have Invest 94L, and that could develop over the coming days, and that how that system tracks might be dependent on exactly what Bolaven does once it's in a non-tropical cyclone. But you can see it amplifying the pattern a little bit more here south of Alaska, and this may cause some downstream amplification of ridges and troughs over North America. So that'll be very interesting to watch. Now, here's a Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast cone. You can see tropical storm force winds are still impacting the northern chain of the Mariana Islands. I believe there is a tropical storm warning still in effect there. I'll leave a link to the National Weather Service in Guam so you can go to that page for the latest information. But you can see the core staying between the islands here across the Pacific. I forget the names of these islands still. I apologize for that. But it is forecast to race northeast as we get to the weekend and again become a non-tropical cyclone and become that powerful non-tropical cyclone south of Alaska next week. But that's all that I've got for today. Again, amazing super typhoon to watch. I'll probably have another video out tomorrow just discussing some general things in the Atlantic. At least I'll try to get a video out tomorrow. If I can, I'll go for another day. But that's all for now. Stay safe in the southeast U.S. as we have some flooding issues to deal with, and stay safe in the Mariana Islands as the tropical storm force wind field still impacts you all from Typhoon Bolaven. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.